Welcome to the Short Horror Beercast, St. Patty's Day edition. I'm your host, Seamus O'Shaughnessy. No, I'm Paul. And who do I have the pleasure of podcasting with today?
It's still Alec.
Okay. And this is not a St. Patty's Day edition. We just happen to be recording on St. Patty's Day.
Indeed.
Yes. Anyway, happy St. Patty's Day to you.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
We were talking before the show began that neither one of us has really any significant degree of Irishness. I think you do a little bit more than I do.
I have actually.
Oh, it is significant.
I don't know the percentage. I have a lot, but I have more Scottish. But okay. I'm there.
Right. And I have absolutely no green in me at all. Well,
like we were saying, you do in spirit.
All right. So let's say cheers.
Slanja.
They call us the Beer Cast for a reason. It's because we like to pair our beers with the short stories that we're covering on this show. And today we're covering The Facts in the Case of Monsieur Valdemar by Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to know what you have to go with. The facts in the case.
Of M. Valdemar?
Of M. Valdemar.
Well, I'll tell you. So I was going to just get a Guinness and say it's St. Patrick's Day, dude. That's what you get.
Right.
I was about to do that.
Yep.
Instead, I came across Dragon Mead Brewery, a Belgian-style triple ale, and it's called Final Absolution.
Oh, great. Nice.
I thought that was pretty good. Just for last minute, what?
Yeah.
Really? That's amazing. This shit just the universe goes click.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome.
Pretty weird.
It's funny as that's not funny. I mean, I love Belgian triples too. They're great beers.
I can smell this beer in the glass.
Yeah.
From here. It's on a shelf right now. Away from my laptop so I don't have some horrible incident. But I can smell it.
You got that really strong yeasty smell. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a 10% ABV, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's pretty real.
Nice. And what was the name of it again?
Final Absolution.
Final Absolution, okay.
Yeah, and the brewery is Dragon Mead Brewery. And I got it from my buddies at Graceland Party Store.
Wonderful.
Anyway, what do you got?
Okay, so I got, this is Aurora Brewing Company. This is from upstate New York. And they have a beer called Fresh to Death.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Fresh to Death. Isn't that awesome? I was so happy.
We are head to head here, dude.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, though. That's pretty great.
This Fresh to Death is beyond hazy. It's an East Coast style IPA. By the way, it's 8.5% ABV. Mm-hmm. And it's it's an East Coast style IPA, but very, very hazy. Beyond hazy, it is opaque. It's a solid color. It looks like I'm drinking chicken broth. Right? Glass of foamy chicken broth. It's wonderful though. I'll give you that much.
Well, good. I'm glad it's good. Foamy chicken broth got me though. That's. I've ever told you how easy it is to make me puke.
You have to say
just by talking.
That's not a good thing to tell me.
Yeah, anyway. I might have just fucked up there.
Well, that's the Stephen King thing is when all else fails, go for the gross out.
Yeah, exactly.
It always helps. All right, let's get into it. The Facts in the Case of Monsieur Valdemar by Edgar Allan Poe. Mm-hmm. Now, Edgar Allan Poe needs no introduction to this audience. I'm not going to go through the whole rigmarole here. Right. Only to say that he was born in 1809 and died in 1849, the tender age of 40. Just doing the math real quick, he was 36 years old when he published this story. Yeah. This tale was published simultaneously in the December 20th, 1845 issue of the Broadway Journal.
That's my birthday.
Oh, is it really? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right.
Yay.
Nice. Okay, well, there you go. And simultaneously published in the December 1845 issue of American Review, a Whig journal. And that is not fake hair, that is the Whig, the political party.
Yeah, the Whigs.
Yeah, right. Why the Whigs had such a penchant for weird horror stories, I don't know, but...
Because they were called the Whigs.
Probably. That's right. They were wigging out. So we open this story with a typical Edgar Allan Poe lure. It's an enticement to keep reading. A really cool device that he uses. We're to assume that this is a true event that has occurred and that we've only heard rumors about. Now, the narrator's going to set the record straight with the facts, hence the title. He uses a lot of different devices. Most notably, he's abbreviating names. He's cutting off names just using their initials when he mentions people, giving the semblance of reality there, like he doesn't want to reveal their identities. And he, at one point, he's even concealing his own name. I originally thought that it was ambiguous as to whether or not Edgar Allan Poe himself was supposed to be the narrator of the story. In just doing a little bit further research, I realized that pretty much that's what he intended. And even later on in the story, the narrator gets a letter and it says, "My dear P," and 2 dashes. So we're meant to think that this is Edgar Allan Poe himself telling the story, and it's a true story. And he's setting the record straight. You may have heard rumors about this thing happening, and I'm going to set the record straight. So it's a fun little hoax that he's perpetrating on the literary public here.
That's cool.
Yeah. So after that brief intro, the account officially begins. Our narrator tells us that for the last 3 years, he's been into mesmerism. Now, this was quite a fad in the Victorian era, mesmerism.
So awesome.
Yeah. Of course, refers to the work of Franz Mesmer. This was basically the forerunner to hypnotism. For those who don't know, it's founded on this dopey theory that there's a kind of binding force between all humans. It's like the force. Mesmer called it animal magnetism. I call it oh shit. Anyway, and and this force, the idea is that this force can be manipulated if you know how to do it. And the way you would do it, the mesmerist would lay his hands on the patient, usually running them down the shoulders and then pressing on an area right below the diaphragm and holding your hands there, or fingertips or something like that. And then you progress to a series of hand movements before the face, assuming that they're in a trance and under your control. You can now, do stuff, give them hand signals and stuff, and get them to follow your hand movements. These are known as passes. Okay, so he's referring to mesmeric passes in the story here. I mentioned it was big in the Victorian era. Charles Dickens was a fan. And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know this from
Drood.
From Drood. Which is based on actual true stories about Dickens really getting into mesmerism, thinking that he could mesmerize people and stuff like that. He performed it quite a few times in his life on people who were willing participants.
Yeah. Without getting too far off the line,
yep.
Dan Simmons did a great job painting that picture of the process of hypnotizing a crowd in that book. Holy shit, was that good.
Yeah.
With all the red velvet around all the curtains and the candles. It was just that you got this sense of the crowd was just dying to be mesmerized.
Right. It was primed for it. Yeah, it's really cool.
It was really, really powerful stuff.
Great stuff. Yeah, that's Drood by Dan Simmons. Recommend. Okay, so the narrator says about 9 months ago, he realized that in all the experiments with mesmerism, no one has ever tried mesmerizing someone in articulo mortis, which is the Latin phrase meaning at the precise point of death. He's approaching it from a scientific perspective here. He wants to see if a subject is responsive at the point of death. And if he is, would the dying process be affected in any way? And finally, how long could the point of death be prolonged? Spoiler alert, this wouldn't be a fun story if we didn't find out the answer to that last one.
Right.
Having resolved to conduct this experiment, it's now time to find a willing subject. He thinks of his friend, Monsieur Ernest Valdemar. Poe enhances the pseudo-reality of the story by reminding us that Ernest Valdemar is a noted author and scholar, and he even lists a couple of his credits. Lovecraft did this all the time, and it's my opinion backed up by Wikipedia that Lovecraft was actually influenced by this story, and I think most notably in Cool Air. And we'll get to the really explicit influence soon enough. Monsieur Valdemar was known for his appearance. He's incredibly thin, with a white beard and black hair. He says people often mistake his hair for a wig. Not a wig, but a wig. Incidentally, he compares him physically to John Randolph. Okay, so he's dropping current references for the time. John Randolph was a politician from a little bit before the story was published. It's like somebody writing today and saying, yeah, he reminded me of Christopher Lee. Like he would drop a reference. Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about, Yeah. You should look up John Randolph's Wikipedia page because we should do a bonus episode on John Randolph because in just looking up who he was, I found a bunch of stuff that was just really cool. He's just an eccentric politician from the early 1800s. Only these guys who was in a duel,
Really?
They should, and he
like pistols.
Yeah, he fired and missed, and the other guy fired at him and hit him in the arm, tore his coat, and the other guy ran up to him and said, "I hope you're not seriously hurt." And he said, "No, but you owe me a coat." That was his reply.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Furthering my notion that they should bring back duels.
They kind of have. It's not good.
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, right. You're right.
Not in the style you mean, but
yeah, that's true. No. All right. So I stand corrected. All right, back to the story.
Yeah.
Poe says Valdemar had been declared by doctors, quote, in a confirmed pathesis. I have never heard that word used.
I had to actually Google how to say it.
Oh, okay. I didn't Google. I'm just guessing. It's pathesis. Is that what it is?
Pathesis.
Well, pathesis is the way I'm going to say it anyway.
They want to throw a fucked up word like that. We'll say it how we want.
Right, exactly. So this just means he's got tuberculosis and he's fucked. And he says, Valdemar's pretty much accepted his fate calmly. He's this is my lot in life. I'm going to die soon, He also thought of Valdemar because he knew of his philosophy and figured he'd be down with it. But moreover, he knew that Valdemar had no family in America that would be likely to interfere. Okay, so in case something goes horribly south, the guy's cousins aren't going to come after him. He confirms with Valdemar. Valdemar is indeed Valdemar, not Voldemort. Valdemar is indeed down with it. He says, so this is a quote from the story, his disease was of that character which would admit of exact calculation in respect to the epoch of its termination in death. Okay, which I think is an interesting little way of just saying, like, here's how the rest of the story is going to make sense. Like, how do you know the guy's going to die at midnight the next night? Well, that's how the disease is. It's so regular and it's just so textbook that we're pretty sure he can't live past midnight tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Clean way of getting rid of that doubt in the reader's mind.
Yeah, that particular phrasing, I had waltzed through the story up until that point and began to stumble and trip all over those words. That was crazy.
Yeah, it took me a second. I was like, okay, I see what he's doing here. So Valdemar says, I'll send for you when it looks like I have 24 hours left. That's it. End of story. Poe tells us that 7 months ago at the time of this writing, he received a note. Valdemar was like, okay, it's here. I got 24 hours to live. Come now. The narrator rushes to his bedside and is appalled by what he sees. He hadn't seen Valdemar in about 10 days, and he can't believe how he's deteriorated in that time. Here's the quote.
His face wore a leaden hue. The eyes were utterly lusterless, and the emaciation was so extreme that the skin had been broken through by the cheekbones.
Yeah, so not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, that's bad.
He is ugly. So he says, despite this hideous appearance, though, Valdemar is actually pretty sharp mentally. He's conversing in such a way that his mind is still right on. There are 2 doctors with him. The narrator takes those doctors aside and gets a detailed account of Valdemar's condition. And what follows is a pretty impressive paragraph detailing just that. We won't go into it because of time, but suffice it to say, Poe did his medical homework. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's the TLDR version is that Valdemar is in pretty rough shape. Okay, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Yeah. But he does go into like exactly what's going on. He's like ossification of the right lung and the left lung is blah, 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 blah. He's really, he did his homework here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's a nice, concise paragraph too. He doesn't go on with it.
Right.
There's a lot to say about this, like the Victorian era with their medical practices. We talked about this in some past episode. Yeah, how awful it was. So
brutal.
Yeah, have you ever seen the Elephant Man?
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Anthony Hopkins is coughing over an open body, on the operating table, So stuff like that's all you need to know about the Victorians and their goddamn medical habits.
Oh, it's so frightening to think of.
Yeah, it really is.
The minute you feel sick, you're like, oh, that's it. I'm so fucked.
Yeah.
Not from being sick, but from being treated.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember in one of Dickens's letters, he talks about visiting his father after his father had an operation. And of course, it's in a house. It wasn't in a hospital or anything. It was in the guy's house. He walked in. He said, "I walked into a slaughterhouse." It's just so awful. So awful. So anyway, and so, that is really a source of horror. And Poe is using that to a great degree here. He knows about medical horror, and he's giving it to you right in your face. Just by describing all this medical stuff, it's not just to talk about what's going on with Valdemar. It's to shock you and to make you be like, oh, God, it's terrible. And just to keep you in the state of angst about mortality and all that. So that's my reading of it.
It sounds right.
Sounds right. Okay, so it's 7 p.m. now, and it looks like he'll be dead by midnight the next night. The doctors bid Valdemar final farewell. Narrator says, "Can you do me a favor? Check up on us tomorrow night at about 10 p.m. So the doctors leave. The narrator goes to Valdemar and says, "All right, we're doing this thing, right?" Valdemar is willing. Yep, he's even anxious. Let's go ahead and get on with it. Let's do it. There are 2 nurses there, a male and a female, in attendance. But he says he wants a more reliable witness in attendance. So, if something goes wrong, he doesn't trust the nurse's expertise. So he gets a medical student that he knows and trusts to come along for the ride. That guy arrives at 8 the next night. Poe wants, the narrator, I should say, wants to wait for the physicians to return at 10, but Valdemar is sinking pretty fast. So he's going to start now. Okay? Mm-hmm. And now he tells us that from here on out, the medical student was taking notes the entire time, and so the rest of the account is pretty much verbatim. So really cool. So if you weren't with me this whole time, trust me, you can be with me now because this is strictly from the record. We started out, maybe I was taking a little bit of liberties here and there, but trust me, from here on...
This is what happened, yeah.
He begins the mesmerism, first by having Valdemar confirm verbally that he's entirely willing to be mesmerized. Valdemar says yes. The process takes a while. 10 o'clock eventually rolls around and the 2 doctors return. They confirm, Valdemar's in the middle of the death agony, all right. The mesmerism continues, and soon enough Valdemar's breathing slows, as does his pulse, and then everything steadies. Then we get this creepy description.
The glassy roll of the eye was changed for that expression of uneasy examination which is never seen except in cases of sleepwalking, and which it is quite impossible to mistake.
So he succeeds in controlling Valdemar's eye movements, fluttering the lids and then closing them all together because he's doing these passes. But he's not satisfied enough that he's entirely under his control. So he continues with the passes and finally gets the limbs to stiffen. And then he gives us the description of the body at this point. The legs are stiff and straight, the arms are as well, and at his sides. And Valdemar's head is slightly elevated. In preparing for this, when I was rereading it, I thought that's like the image of a corpse in its coffin right there. And it never hit me. It's so funny when you reread these things and you just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I just always pictured it, but I never really pictured it and said, that's...
They do tend to put the body on a pretty good pillow on the head.
The only thing it's missing is like the hands folded over the heart, So he manages to complete the entire mesmerism process precisely at midnight, and he has the doctors examine the patient, and they're like, yeah, he's mesmerized. And needless to say, they're astounded. One of the doctors says he'll stay, while the other says he'll return at daybreak. That doctor, the nurses, and the medical student remain. They leave Valdemar undisturbed until 3 a.m. He doesn't say what they did during that whole time for those 3 hours. I'm assuming that maybe they played a game of Risk. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You ever played Risk?
I have.
Friendships dissolve over Risk.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it lasts about, I think, 43 hours.
I only had one friend growing up that was even interested in playing Risk. All my other friends were like, fuck that, I'm outside. I'm not doing that.
I'm not going to spend my week playing Risk. So anyway, yes, that's my dumb joke there. Okay, they leave Valdemar undisturbed for 3 hours. When they return, Valdemar's in the exact same position. His breathing is slow and even, barely perceptible. They have to hold a mirror to his nose to confirm that he's actually breathing at all. His eyes are closed and his limbs are stiff and ice cold. So the narrator decides at this point to try a little mesmeric experiment. He has Valdemar's arm follow the movements of his own. He says he's never been able to make this trick work with any degree of success before, but now it works perfectly. And now it's time to speak to Valdemar. He asks him, "Are you asleep?" And Valdemar doesn't answer, but his lips are quivering. So the narrator repeats the question 2 more times, and finally the entire body shivers, and the eyes flutter open just enough to reveal 2 white slits. And then in a barely audible whisper, Valdemar says this.
Yes, asleep now. Do not wake me. Let me die so.
He asks him if he's in any pain, and Valdemar says,
No pain. I am dying.
At daybreak, as promised, the other doctor returns. He feels Valdemar's pulse. He holds a mirror to his nose, then tells the narrator to get him to speak again. He wants to hear it. So again, the narrator asks him, are you asleep? It's the same as before. He has to ask him a few times. And during this time, he says it's almost as if Valdemar is gathering his energy to reply. Finally, Valdemar answers, yes, still asleep, dying. The doctors then say that they ought to leave Valdemar in this condition. He's dying, he seems to be at peace, leave him. The narrator thinks about this for a moment, and he decides to repeat the same question to the patient. And this time, as he's talking, something happens. The eyes roll open, the pupils roll upward and disappear completely. It's a really creepy scene. Valdemar's skin changes. It becomes cadaverous. Poe says, quote, resembling not so much parchment as white paper. And he says that where there were spots on the cheeks before, like these sporadic blotches on his cheeks, they all now went out. He says it reminded him of a candle when it's extinguished. A really fascinating little scene.
Yeah.
And we get this grotesque description.
The upper lip at the same time writhed itself away from the teeth, which it had previously covered completely, while the lower jaw fell with an audible jerk, leaving the mouth widely extended and disclosing in full view the swollen and blackened tongue.
Yeah. Nasty. Nasty with 2 E's. So, he says all the medical people in the room are no strangers to deathbed horrors, but when they see this happen, they all shrink back at once.
Fuck yeah.
So, they're just about to call it a night and pronounce him dead when they perceive movement from that nasty tongue of his, and then a voice comes out of the mouth. But the mouth is still frozen open and the voice is coming out of it.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's terrifying.
It is. Another uncanny valley thing. I guess that's what I'm trying to, I'd like to try to analyze a little bit what makes this so scary. It just is. You can't really put words to it, why it's terrifying. It just is.
Because his lips aren't moving. He's talking and his lips aren't moving. His mouth is wide open and frozen. And a voice is speaking like I am right now. That's crazy.
It's like a marionette. Not a marionette, a ventriloquist dummy gets its mouth stuck open, and this is the ventriloquist just speaking.
Yeah, it's just like that.
So the narrator can, for the life of him, describe the sound of his voice, but he's going to try to anyway, he says. It sounds like it came from a vast distance. But moreover, he said it impressed his ears the way, quote, gelatinous or glutinous matters impress the sense of touch, end quote. So
that's really weird.
Yeah, I love that. It's like,
that's really, really good. I would have never thought of that.
Right.
That gross, squashy feeling, but it's in your ears when you're listening.
Yep.
Oh.
And
rough.
Yeah, and so with that voice, Valdemar finally answers the question, are you sleeping? He replies,
Yes. No. I have been sleeping, and now I am dead.
And at this, the medical student swoons. Got a lot of swooning in the Victorian era.
Me too.
It's another word you don't hear often, swoon.
Swoon.
I'm gonna bring that one back.
Oh my God, she swooned.
Right. Someone quick, she swooned. I have a feeling if you called 911 and said my wife just swooned, like they'd be like, what?
Hey, this lady over here, she swooned. We got a swooner.
Swooner. Anyway, they spend the next hour trying to revive this swooned student. Okay? Big giant pussy. So when they finally do revive him, they can finally return to Valdemar. It's like, I just find that funny. For the next hour, they're like, oh, hold on, a really important, like, groundbreaking science experiment. We have to stop because
let's tend to this little queasy kid.
This little idiot who just passed out. Yeah, they have to get smelling salts probably, right? The ammonia and shit like that. They probably had his hand and were doing this to it, tapping his hand, the back of his hand.
Exactly. Did they have like smelling salts then, other than something that just smelled horrible? Did they have like actual salts?
I think it was ammonia, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they hold onto the nose. And
you ever had one of those?
No, but I've
close to your nose.
No, but I've smelled ammonia. This is when I was a kid. See, my parents didn't really keep a leash on me, and so somebody, I don't know, my mom was cleaning or something with ammonia. There's a bottle of it sitting on the counter, and I just went up to it. I don't remember how old I was. I must have been 8 or 9 years old. I went up to it, unscrewed the cap, and took a big old sniff of it. And let me tell you, man, I felt 1,003 needles go rocketing right straight up into my brain. It was the craziest feeling, and I have like a sense memory of it, like my shoulders tingled. That's how intense this. I guess it was pain. It was just a painful stabbing right up into my brain. I felt my shoulders tense and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, thank God I didn't die.
Right.
I don't know. I thought it was a good idea at the time.
Yeah. Well, I had a similar situation like that. The art department I worked in for a reality show. On the shelf, there was an unmarked jar, and I was trying to organize the warehouse with, the other guys. Just get it all dialed in, and there was this random little vial type bottle.
Yeah.
Small, unlabeled, with clear liquid in it. What the fuck is this? And like you do, you unscrew it and you sniff it. Right. Well, I, was not probably very smart about it, and I fucking, took a big sniff, and whatever the fuck was in there was, look, I don't know if it was ammonia or some sort of crazy acid, but this shit, I set it on the counter, managed to not spill it, and fell down on my knees holding my head.
Oh my God.
It hurt so fucking bad, I thought I was gonna die. I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? And no one was around, no one saw it happen.
Right, thank God.
And I went into my boss's office, I said, what the fuck is that shit in that little jar out there on the counter? He goes, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I said, it's in a little unmarked bottle. It's got a cap on it. I went to check what it was and it almost killed me. What the fuck is that? He goes, show me. I go out there and it's gone.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know who grabbed it.
Yeah.
Or who thought that shit was funny or whatever. But I go, it was right here. I don't know where the fuck it is, but you have to know what it was. Everything there was his.
Yeah. Wow.
He's like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I said, well, it almost took my head off.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, you got to get rid of whatever that is, or at least mark, this shit will kill you. Stay away from it. Do something, because if it turns up again and somebody sniffs it, they're gonna wipe out.
Yeah.
I almost fucking threw that shit on the floor, and I don't know what it would have done.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
That's
but
crazy.
It hurt so fucking bad, dude. It hurt. I thought I was gonna die.
That's crazy.
Oh, I took a big whiff though. Like,
yeah.
So that was like, that's it. I'm down for the count.
Wow, that's amazing. So we both had similar experiences.
I'll never forget that too. Like you said, you have a memory of it that's like just gives you, it hurts to think of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it was awful.
Now I'm gonna smell this nice beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a drink now.
How is your beer, by the way?
Oh, it's good. It's almost gone.
Good.
Yeah, I guess the triple ale is what's going on here that's making me love this, but
3 times the joy.
It's very tasty. It's a lot. It's a powerful beer, but it's manageable.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's it's no Pilsner or lager. It's a real pretty heavy duty, but good. Like, what was that other one I had that was hard to drink? The Punchki one was rough.
Yeah, but
that was rough.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I mean, it was like a Scotch ale that you had one time where you like, this isn't playing games.
Yeah. This is not like that though. I mean, it's very, very powerful. It's good, but it's drinkable, tasty.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
How about you? How's yours?
It's beautiful. It's still opaque, and that's all I have to say about it. It's opaque and hoppy as the day is long. So it's wonderful.
How's your beer? It's opaque.
It's opaque. Those are my.
Oh, good.
Right. Those are the notes I'm getting. I'm getting opaque.
I'm getting opaque.
I won't use the words I used to describe it before.
What was it?
In regard to your delicate sensibilities.
Oh, yeah. Right. Thank you.
I'm just messing with you. All right. So, where was I? Oh, yes, they had to revive the pussy who passed out.
Yeah.
Now they can finally return to Valdemar, and it's confirmed there's no breath on the mirror, and they can't even draw blood from the arm. So this guy is stone fucking dead. And furthermore, his arm is no longer under the mesmerist control. The tongue vibrates whenever they speak to him. That's like the only... That's the only thing that is, quote unquote, alive about this guy, is that his tongue is quivering every time they speak to him.
So this seems like now he's not much more than a conduit between this plane and the next.
Exactly. That's how I read it too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's messed up. And so,
scary.
yeah, so he can only answer when the mesmerist asks him a question. When the others try, the sounds are like unintelligible, which is even more creepy too. Like they ask him a question, he's just like, you know, but when the mesmerist talks to him, he actually answers. The narrator, the doctors, and the medical student leave at 10 and return at noon. So this is 10 in the morning. This is the next day, and they return at noon. And they come to the conclusion, probably over their breakfast, they were probably discussing this. Like, I'll have the omelet, and yeah, we should probably wake up Valdemar, you know. And I'll have the country omelet, heavy on the sour cream, and yeah, Valdemar should probably get up. So they come to the conclusion, actually, that to awaken Valdemar would be to ensure his instant death. That's what it is. That they don't decide yet to wake him up. They say if they were to wake him up, it would be his instant death. I'm gonna have to cut out the breakfast joke. It's a Hippocratic conundrum, and I just wrote down a little note. The Hippocrates conundrum is my favorite Robert Ludlum novel. A good Robert Ludlum joke. Anyway, I've never read them, but I just know his books have the dopey titles.
Yeah.
So anyway, for the next 7 months, they arranged to have nurses round the clock looking after Valdemar. Although for all intents and purposes, it doesn't seem necessary, as Valdemar pretty much remains in the same exact state the entire time. He's just sitting there, his mouth is open, and maybe his tongue is vibrating here and there, who knows, but he's kind of just in this state of, you know what you call it, suspended animation. So 7 months later, they finally agree that it may be a good idea to awaken Monsieur Valdemar after all. You know, this just isn't working. Let's wake him up. We'll see what happens. So after a few unsuccessful attempts doing the passes and stuff like that, he's really trying to wake him up. Finally, he succeeds, and the iris in the eye partially descends, followed by, quote, the profuse outflowing of a yellowish ichor from beneath the lids of a pungent and highly offensive odor. Yeah, and so there's that ichor. That's a word you don't see anymore.
Right.
Lovecraft uses it.
I've heard red ichor.
It's just like a viscous liquid.
Yeah.
I think that's really old, but it may have its roots in like the humors theory. You have the 4 humors. It's like bile and blood and whatever. That may be one of them. I think ichor is one of them, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a great word.
It's a word that pairs well with sinews.
Exactly. And the fact that it's yellowish.
Is it sinews or sinews?
I always heard it's sinews, but the Victorians had a bug up their ass about the color yellow.
A positive one or negative?
No, like a real, they don't like it. It was always...
I don't know how you could have a positive bug up your ass.
Hey, listen.
Sorry.
I don't want to talk about my private life.
Hey, everybody likes what they like.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yellow is a gross color if in this context.
It is in this context for sure, but there's a story by Robert Chambers, no relation.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, okay. Robert Chambers wrote a story called The King in Yellow, and it deals with the yellow sign. This was referenced, I think, in True Detective. We talked about True Detective. Yeah. Talked a little about the yellow sign, I think, or the King in Yellow, I think. Yeah, I can't remember. It's confusing different aspects of the story. But anyway, the Victorians just had a thing about the color yellow, that it portended just unsettling and evil things. And I think it was because it's the color of disease. It's like malaria.
It's infection.
Exactly. Infection. Your skin goes yellow when you have malaria. Tuberculosis, skin probably gets that gross hue to it. And Elizabeth Gilman, that was another one. She wrote a story called The Yellow Wallpaper, early weird tale. So they just had this thing about the color yellow. But the fact that it's pouring out of this guy's eye, both his eyes, and it has a pungent and highly offensive odor is pretty fucking gross.
Sick.
And it's so funny because this is like the Victorian era. You didn't think the Victorians were like in your face with horror and stuff like that. He's really hardcore.
Yeah.
For that time, that was probably really hardcore. At this point, the narrator asks him what his wishes are, and Valdemar replies in his hideous voice,
"For God's sake, quick, quick, put me to sleep, or quick, waken me, quick. I say to you that I am dead."
So at this, the narrator amps up the mesmeric passes. He's like, all right, I really got to get him out of this thing. So it says that everyone in that room was on edge to see what would happen when he finally did wake, but no human could have been prepared for what actually happened. The narrator's frantically making these mesmeric passes while Valdemar is crying, "Dead, dead." And he describes the sound as, quote, "absolutely bursting from the tongue and not from the lips of the sufferer," end quote. So that's a very pleasant image we get. And here's how we land.
His whole frame at once, within the space of a single minute or even less, shrunk, crumbled, absolutely rotted away beneath my hands. Upon the bed, before that whole company, there lay a nearly liquid mass of loathsome, of detestable putrescence.
That is gross.
He's a puddle of goo. So we can see that Lovecraft was probably influenced to write the end of Cool Air by this, where he says that the trail of goo that Dr. Munoz leaves behind, yep, it leads to the couch and ends unutterably. So it's not as powerful as this ending, but it's pretty good, to say it that way. But this is just absolutely horrifically beautiful.
He pulled out all the $3 words.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, the last one, putrescence. Poe changed it for another publication. It may have been for the other publication. It was published twice, so maybe he changed it for the later one. I don't know, but there's two different versions of this. One where he uses the word putrescence. That was the original word. The next time he did the edit, he changed that to putridity, of detestable putridity. And I have no idea why, because putrescence is so much better.
Maybe it was too much for people at that time.
It could have been. You're right. Maybe.
I'm guessing, because it is a better word.
Yeah. And it just fits so well in that beautiful sentence.
I would have never thought putridity was actually a word. Like, I've never heard that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard it. But but putrescence is just a gorgeous word. And at the end of that sentence, it just slams it right home.
Yeah, hits you in the guts.
I have from Audible works of Edgar Allan Poe read by Basil Rathbone and Vincent Price.
This is Audible. Sorry.
It's okay. Rathbone reads this story, and when he gets to that line, the way he delivers this line, you think he's going to throw up right on the spot. So he's like, "Testicle putrescence." He does it. It's so good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. So I recommend.
That's cool.
Yeah, for those who love audiobooks, that's one for sure. Basil Rathbone and Vincent Price. It doesn't get any better.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, number one, this story was dramatized. This story was dramatized in the 1962 anthology film Tales of Terror. It was directed by Roger Corman and written by, wait for it, Richard Matheson.
Yay!
Yeah, so our good friend Richard Matheson, who we're going to cover this season, he wrote the screenplay to that film Tales of Terror, and they do a pretty good job. And Basil Rathbone himself is actually in the story playing the Poe role. Okay, he's not Edgar Allan Poe. They call him Mr. Carmichael, I think is his name. And Vincent Price is Valdemar. Nice. So, so it's really cool.
Is it the Trilogy of Terror you're talking about?
No, this is, no, you're right, because Matheson did write that. He wrote Trilogy of Terror. No, this is Tales of Terror, early film, 1962. They did a lot of those, like, anthology films. Yeah, obviously Trilogy of Terror was one, but Roger Corman did a few different Poe stories, and Charles Beaumont wrote one of them. I can't remember which one. May have been The Pit and the Pendulum, but he did that one. And what they would do is they would kind of mash up different things I think in one of them they actually do a Lovecraft thing, like they actually insert the case of Charles Dexter Ward as a Lovecraft story. They take elements from there.
The Pit and the Pendulum, when I was a kid,
Yeah,
some version of that I watched was fucking just too much for me to deal with. That pendulum was amazing.
Yeah, and I think Price is in that one. Vincent Price is in that one.
That giant blade going back and forth.
Yeah.
Holy God.
Yeah, it's really cool. We love that stuff. I'm sorry. It's so dark to say that, but I love it.
Yeah. Were you a Hammer horror guy?
I was more of a Universal horror guy.
Okay.
I love the Hammer films, though. They're great.
Yeah, I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, they are really good. And I'm a really big fan of Amicus films, which came in the mid to late 60s and ended around, I think, late 70s, maybe around 1980. British company, Amicus International, they were called. And they did, they did a lot of those anthology films. They're really good. So they did Tales from the Crypt, and then they followed it with Vault of Horror. Two really good anthology films. They're a little cheesy by today's standards, but they were cool because they just ripped them right out of the pages of the old EC comics.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like you're watching the comic book. It's great.
I love that.
Yeah, and they did another one called Asylum, and that was written by Robert Bloch. We're going to cover Robert Bloch later on in this season, so my Gen X Rolodex is spinning quite rapidly this season. So, so there you have it. Yep. No, but the Hammer stuff is great.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and you liked, you were a fan of the Japanese stuff, right?
I loved Ultraman.
I
loved all the Godzilla movies.
Of course.
You know, Monster Week was a big deal for me.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I would run home from school.
Yeah.
To catch Monster Week.
Let's do the old man thing here. Wasn't it wonderful back in the day when these were so special because you couldn't get them all the time. You couldn't get them anytime you wanted to. Today, I can search for anything, right, and find it.
That's a big thing with me.
Yeah.
Jen and I had this conversation. I may have probably dragged Lee into it at some point and bored the shit out of him, but you know, when we were kids, when something came on the TV and you had no idea it was coming, you just started glowing. It was like, holy shit.
Totally.
Like, this is on right now? What?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. With, you know, a little less language, but
right.
Depending on where you grew up, but
right, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it would be like, I can't believe this is on right now, and you get on the phone, and after you use the rotary for 5 minutes, you'd tell your friends what was on.
Yeah, sure. Right, I remember that. I can't go out right now watching Ultraman right now. I was like, Ultraman's on? Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
And then every once in a while you get the Sunday paper and can find it. You know, I would scan the Sunday listings, the TV listings on Sunday and like circle shit, you know, to watch that week, you know.
Right.
But inevitably something would slip by my radar, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it was like War of the Gargantuas came on. I was like, what? All of a sudden right now, this is on? This is fantastic.
That's right.
Chewing up that woman and spitting out the dress. It's fucking great.
That's awesome. All right. So we're going to end on that note. How about that? Chewing up the woman, spitting out the dress. So let's end on that note. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I had fun. This was a great beer and a great story. Yeah,
that story was that was probably the gnarliest one yet.
Yeah, could be. Could very well be. Because as far as just pure gross out is concerned.
Yeah, the gross out was a lot. The conduit bit was really cool. I hope that's not how things actually work. That would be a drag.
That would be.
But yeah, I loved it. It was a great story. It was really good.
That reminds me of Arthur C. Clarke's definitions of science fiction and fantasy. He said, science fiction is what will probably happen, although you wish it wouldn't. And fantasy is what probably can't happen, but you wish it would. But I have to disagree with Mr. Clarke here, Sir Clarke. Yeah, that's something I wouldn't want to happen at all.
Oh, God, no.
Even though you can probably classify this as science fiction, maybe. I don't know.
You could.
Maybe it seemed like he was using the best science of his time.
It did have a lot of detestable putrescence.
Yes, it did.
For sure.
Tell me you're going to work that one into everyday conversation now. What is this detestable putrescence on my plate?
Yeah, it's the first thing I say at daybreak.
All right, so I'm going to finish my ichor.
Actually, I can't lie. I already drank mine ages ago. Yeah, okay. It's all done.
All right. Well, enjoy the after effects.
Yes.
Okay.
And enjoy your corned beef and cabbage.
Oh, I shall. Trust me.
And happy Snake-Free Ireland Day.
You as well, my friend. Be good.
All right, see ya.
See ya.